Well, hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar, How to Build an Agile Marketing Team. My name is Mario Kiriakou, Managing Partner at Ratio, and I'm going to be your presenter for today. So a little bit about Ratio. We're a UK digital agency, we're a Sitecore UK partner. We help clients to achieve their digital targets and revenue objectives by leveraging data-driven insight, continuous testing and optimization to build experiences which deliver seamlessly across devices and channels. So traditional marketing has changed, and this probably has not come something that's particularly new to a lot of marketers. It's something which has been evolving for the last 10, 15 years with the proliferation of channels and tactics and technologies. And the honest thing is in terms of digital channels and tactics, it's difficult for marketers to know where they should deploy their resources, their team, their budgets, and their efforts. Channels and tactics are proliferating with the growth of marketing technologies, and ultimately it's difficult for marketers to cut through the weeds and define where should we be focusing our efforts in the next month, 2 months, 6 months, a year. And with the growth of tactics and digital channels, there's also the growth of marketing technologies. This is a famous example from Chief Martech. There's over 3,500 marketing technology solutions to choose from, and from a marketer's point of view, it can be almost next to impossible to define what technologies do we require as a business, from social, content, programmatic advertising, etc. What technologies, specific technologies we need in conjunction with other technologies to deliver the experience that we need to deliver for our end customers. On top of that, the funnel has gone from something relatively simple. I think we're all familiar with traditional marketing models like the AIDA model of a linear journey. And the truth is that customers have moved on beyond that now. We live in an omni-channel, multi-channel world, and the traditional marketing funnel is probably slightly redundant. It's far more complex, and that reflects the fact that consumers are engaging with brands across multiple channels and touch points, and they're not traveling in a linear journey with your brand, and therefore how you interact with them is key to delivering an overall optimal experience for consumers. I mean, Agile started with software development. Agile development started originally within software development in response to the traditional waterfall process of managing software projects. In a nutshell, waterfall is a process of completing each stage in a process just once before being handed over to the next team to manage their part of the project. So a very linear journey. Team A completes their part of the project and hands over to Team B. Lower marketers will probably be familiar with this type of approach to working on projects where one part of the marketing team will work on their part before handing over to another part of the team. Agile development is very different in that each stage of the process, from analysis to testing, designing, right through the coding, it's worked on continuously with feedback from different teams being fed back into the process. Again, a major Agile tenet, one of the major principles, is to focus on taking a large project and breaking it down into small, more manageable chunks. And traditionally, each chunk is called an iteration or a sprint. So for a lot of marketers, what does that traditional marketing model look like? How do traditional marketing teams operate? Well, a traditional marketing model, and this is something which probably a lot of people are familiar with from working with different types of organisations, is that you work on the big idea, the big strategy. What should a potential campaign look like? What should a big website relaunch look like? You may look to do customer research to validate that big idea that you've got before getting stakeholder buy-in, whether that's getting the right people on board to support the project, getting the sign-off, getting the resources you require, right through to getting the team that you need to deploy and build out. And then once you have those in place, a lot of organisations then look to design, build, and then launch that big idea from, is it a new website, is it a big digital campaign? And then after the big reveal, the big launch, it's the measurement. point of view. So you look to see, okay, did that campaign work? Did it not work? Did it work? And then start with a new big idea, and which is fine in many respects. It's familiar to that waterfall process of start from A to B to C to D, a linear journey. But as a traditional model, is it broken? Is it fit for purpose? So what is Agile marketing? Well, Agile marketing is taking that approach of the big idea and actually breaking down that big idea into dozens of micro strategies, breaking up big idea into small components, more manageable components, where you could look to deploy campaigns, deploy new functionality on websites, on apps, on campaigns, and optimizing paid-for campaigns. Look to deploy quickly, look to take a data-driven approach to insights. So you look to deploy, you look at the data to determine, did it actually work? What is working, what is not working, and use that to inform the next stage. It's a continual circle, it's a continual iteration. It's not about launching a campaign or launching a new website and then going, great, okay, it's done, move on to the next project. It's about assessing what part of the digital campaign is working and looking to extract the insights, adjusting your original micro strategies and ideas, and continually optimizing it and feeding that information back into the optimization loop. So some of the main things around Agile marketing, it's about the change from just sticking to a rigid marketing plan. It's about being able to respond to opportunities. It's also about deploying rapid iterations over that big bang campaign, which may work, it may resonate with customers, but it's based on the assumption that all your original assumptions about what the consumer wants are correct. So it's about how can you iterate rapidly with the end consumer's goals in mind. And that falls into having a testing plan. How do you test your assumptions? How do you test your strategies and ideas? Do you have the right data to optimize? Because again, it's moving away from the traditional hippo point of view of the highest paid person's opinion, forcing the direction of strategy within a business, to having the data inform what your decision making should look like. And then employing those small experiments to validate your opinions. Because again, having an opinion is not something which is against the Agile marketing point of view. Actually, opinions are extremely important. You always start with a hypothesis, with an idea, but it's about leveraging data and experiments to validate whether those original ideas actually stand up in a cold hard light of day. And again, it's also about breaking down the traditional marketing silos to have more cross-functional teams to work better with your colleagues. And again, the main tenet and mantra of Agile marketing is leveraging data. Having ideas is great. Ideas are the lifeblood of marketing, and they drive marketing ideas. But it's leveraging data to validate those ideas, to apply experimentation on top, and ultimately to optimize, to take you to the next level, take your campaigns, your mobile applications, your websites to a higher level. That's cool. So as a marketer, if you're interested in applying tenets of Agile marketing to your own team, or trying to introduce it into your company, what are the main components, what are the main building blocks you need to bear in mind? Well, there's a couple of things really which make up Agile marketing. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail in a couple more slides, but some of the main things are user stories. And anyone who's familiar with personas will really understand what a user story is. So the user story is built around a specific persona, around a specific role or user. So if you're looking to roll out, for example, a new element of functionality on a mobile application or an app, it's defining who is this additional functionality designed for, what does the user look like, what is their specific problem, and how does this new functionality solve this problem? Because you'll feed that into the sprints going further on. And sprint planning, it's an agile marketing way of saying the initial planning session to define what that initial deployment will look like, and then the sprints are the actual execution of that work, right through to Scrum. Scrum is a way of managing the process. We'll go through that in a little bit more detail in a second. Daily stand-ups. Anyone who's fed up of 3 or 4 hour marketing meetings will quite like the idea of agile marketing, in the sense that it kind of looks to do away with those long, cumbersome meetings and moving towards a more agile 10-15 minute type discussion, right through to reviewing the work executed and then post-mortem. So one of the main elements is that sprint plan, and that goes into the ideation, where the team looks to sit together and plan out what do we want to achieve, what are our ideas, and this can be informed by data, it can be informed by customer research, etc., and it's defining those ideas, the sprint, defining the objectives for the sprint. And just to clarify, a sprint, it's over the next, say, 3 to 4 weeks, we may be deploying creating new content, adding functionality to the website, and so in terms of, when I say the word sprint, it's really the execution of our ideas, of our plan. So it's defining those original objectives and assigning responsibilities to the team. Who within the team is going to work on X element, this element, etc. Bringing in the right stakeholders, so it's to incorporate marketing into the wider business, so bringing in those stakeholders from IT, development, sales, etc., into that initial planning session so that everyone's goals are aligned. And that feeds into green priorities which go across the business, so breaking down those priority silos. And defining team capacity. Defining team capacity is trying to create a realistic roadmap of what can your team actually achieve within a defined period. If you've got 2 people in marketing or 10 people in marketing, how many hours a day do they have? You're not going to deploy all the hours a day to working on, for example, this sprint. So it's to identify, do they have 20-30% of their time spare towards working on this additional marketing plan or additional rollout, etc., and then calculating that capacity and matching it against those initial objectives to determine whether your plans are realistic. And those sprints, and once you get into the next stage, is the actual execution and deployment of those ideas. So the agreed marketing rollout. And generally speaking, a sprint lasts from 2 to 5 weeks. You wouldn't normally have it last longer than that. So if you're used to having a traditional marketing plan where you map out your entire campaign for the year, you major touch points, it's a bit of a change in the sense that you will look to break that down into shorter, more manageable chunks where you'll look to iterate and optimize within those 4 or 5 week periods. You roll out changes and look at the data further along. But one of the key elements of the sprint is the daily stand-up meetings. So you look to have a 15-minute meeting each day where each person within the team will report on 3 elements. What they did yesterday, what they will do today, and any obstacles that stand in their way. And really it's a way of managing cross-functionally across the team to make sure we're all on track to achieving our defined priorities and goals. And into the sprint review. So the sprint review focuses on really what was accomplished during the sprint. So you've rolled out your changes, you've made changes to the website, etc. And the sprint review is really looking at what did you manage to accomplish. So within the sprint review, we look to bring back those key stakeholders because originally they would have agreed with you on what that initial deployment of that marketing rollout would look like. Reviewing the initial commitments you made, and then benchmarking what you achieved, reviewing the work completed against your original objectives, and presenting the results. And this is kind of the key element. If you're moving away from just the big reveal, the big launch, and then moving on to the next campaign, this is the element within the sprint that differentiates it between the traditional mode of running marketing. It's looking at the numbers, looking at the results, determine actually did our original hypothesis prove correct. If not, okay, how does that data inform the next sprint, the next set of new functionality we want to roll out, the new campaign, etc., with new content we want to create. Identifying the uncompleted items, and that can fall back into perhaps we miscalculated the team's capacity within that 4-week process. So perhaps we need to adjust for next time going forward. And then identify opportunities for next time. We ran this is the customer data, this is the conversions or the engagement rate. Let's tweak our ideas. This is an opportunity we can be more reactive, and we'll tweak our ideas at this point for next time. And then into the sprint post-mortem. So the sprint, unlike the sprint review meeting, which talks about what was accomplished during the sprint, the sprint post-mortem talks specifically about how things went during the sprint, with each participant during the meeting focusing on 2 specific questions. What went well during the sprint, and what could have been improved during the sprint. If you ever run a post-mortem for campaigns afterwards to determine what went well, what didn't work, it's similar, but it has additional value in the sense that you look to feed that back into the feedback loop for iteration on the next sprint. So defining what went well. So did your original ideas pan out? If not, okay, what can we tweak for next time? What can we improve going forward? And this is a way of being quite agile and nimble in terms of deploying digital campaigns, adding new digital functionality to websites, etc. Is that you can be agile and be responsive to what the customer actually needs and desires in terms of engaging with your brand. And user stories. I mentioned user stories earlier on, and as I said previously, if you've previously worked with personas, you understand exactly what a user story is. It's a value add to a persona. So you usually look to apply user stories to specific personas. So if you're designing a campaign, for example, you may have a set of personas in mind when designing the content, the UX, etc. And you look to build specific user stories for functionality elements, for example, for a website or for a campaign or for parts of the content, to make sure that your rollout elements actually resonate with the user. So, for example, the 3 key elements. There's the role. So have you defined who this user story is for in terms of the demographic or role profile? And then I want to, and that's in terms of the task this user wants to complete on your site, for example. And then the goal or benefit to be derived by using this element of functionality or this campaign, etc., for the end user. So where can Agile marketing be applied? Potentially you can look to apply it across all your digital channels, from content marketing to optimizing content marketing, you can roll out optimization and testing plans, to being responsive and quite agile with social media, SEO, marketing automation. You can look to apply the methodology across all market disciplines. So that brings us to the end of today's presentation. We've got time for some questions, so let's have a look at the questions that have come in. Okie dokie. We currently operate an approval process for producing content. Can we still be agile? Well, the answer is yes. You need to empower people. An approval process can be quite intimidating, and it can slow down marketing and prevent you from being quite agile and reactive to circumstances and opportunities. So one way to get around it is to look to create guidelines, explaining how to specifically create content that matches your brand's values and also your tone of voice. Another question is coming. We're looking to launch a new website. Do we need to make sure all the user stories are 100% accurate before launch? Well, the short answer is no. When you look to launch a new website, going from the old website to the new website, it's not going to result from bad to perfection, because you will have created your new website, you've adjusted the UX, the user experience, etc., based on customer research, maybe on insight. But again, it's a hypothesis, it's an idea. You only have that proven out once you deploy it, and you can look at the data to determine how your end users are actually interacting with your website. So the answer is no. You'll look at the data, extract insight, apply testing, and iterate to improve, so that your original user stories may be proved invalid or it may require tweaking. It almost doesn't matter, because you're going to be quite rapid in the way you iterate towards perfection. Perfection won't be born on initial launch. Okay, that brings us to the end of Q&A. Thank you everyone for joining us on today's webinar. Just to let you know that we have another webinar in our digital series. So it's next Wednesday, and next week we'll be focusing on how to build a testing optimization culture. So thank you very much for joining us today.